Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bright Spots. I am so excited that you are here, and I am so excited for tonight's show. Our guest this evening is just going to knock your socks off with his talent, and I can't wait to introduce him to you. We already have a great crowd on, and I see that many of our guests' relatives are watching, and that's wonderful. For those of you that are new to the show, please, this is an interactive show. We want you to comment in the comments below. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And if this is your first time tuning into Bright Spots, tell us that too. We'd love to know what brought you here tonight. Also, if you've been here before, you know how this works. Be sure you comment, ask questions of our guest. We want this to be interaction between you, our guest, and me. We'll answer whatever questions you might have. And if we don't have the answers, we'll go figure out how to get them. So please ask us your questions. Make some comments. Tell us what you know about our guest. We'd love to hear as much as we can. So folks, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking because we already have a crowd, and I know that our guest has some things to say this evening. So let me tell you who he is. He is our youngest guest to date on Bright Spots, which is pretty exciting in itself. Badyn Woodford is a junior at St. Clairsville High School in St. Clairsville, Ohio. He has dedicated 4 years to playing with the award-winning Red Devil High School Marching Band and with the St. Clairsville High School Jazz Band. He started in his 8th grade year after he received a special invitation to audition for these ensembles a year earlier than normal. He is also a 2-year member of the concert band. His devotion to music study has led to his participation in multiple honors ensembles, including the West Liberty Tri-State Honors Ensemble and the OVAC All-Star Band. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Bright Spots welcome to Badyn Woodford. Welcome, Badyn.
Thank you, Lori.
It is great to have you here on the Bright Spots show and in the StreamYard Bright Spots studio. So Badyn, you and I go way back. I've known you since you were a small child, backstage with your dad or your grandfather, Ray Zekas, at the Victoria Theater. Gosh, how long has that been? A few years?
I'd have to say it's been 5.5 or 6 years now.
Okay, so great. So Badyn, you are a musician. You're an independent musician, and you play with the high school bands. What is your favorite instrument to play, and why?
That's an interesting question, Lori. It's hard to pick a favorite because really every instrument is great in its own way. But of the ones that I play, I've been doing it for about 5 years now. It's the organ because you truthfully can have so much control, and there is so much variety in the type of music that you can produce with that kind of instrument because of all the tonal resources that you have at your disposal. So it's really a great instrument to replicate silent movies from the 1920s. You can accompany silent movies. You can play for church services, or just truthfully, there are endless possibilities with the instrument.
So what got you into music, Badyn? Did it start at an early age, and was it your grandfather that inspired you to music, or was it someone else?
It was, in fact, my grandfather. From an extremely young age, he had exposed me to music from the 40s, 50s, and 60s at first, and then from there I developed my own taste, which included that as well as music from the 80s, 90s, and some modern music as well.
So who is your favorite organist, professional organist?
There is a woman who goes by the name Diane Bish, and she is dubbed the First Lady of the Organ, and she is the most dexterous player that I've had the privilege of meeting. I met her about 4 years ago. She did a dedication recital here at St. Mary's Catholic Church in St. Clairsville. So I had the privilege of meeting her then. And I can tell you from that experience, she is a very down-to-earth and very nice lady.
So, Badyn, in your biography, some of the things that you pointed out were playing with ensembles. Explain for our audience what exactly that means.
I'm sorry, I pointed out what? You were cutting out for a moment.
So, in your bio, you talked about playing with ensembles. What does an ensemble look like? Who makes up an ensemble, and what does that exactly mean?
Sure. So an ensemble, by definition, is a group of musicians who comes together to make music. So a prime example of an ensemble that you would know is the Honky Tonk Sweethearts. It's by definition, it is a vocal trio. So an ensemble can have primarily like a lead or a founding member, but for larger ensembles, like the St. Clairsville High School Concert Band, we are under the leadership of two directors, Justin Swartfager and Kathy Ranhart.
And you are playing to my sympathies, bringing up the Honky Tonk Sweethearts, right? For those of you watching that don't know who the Honky Tonk Sweethearts are,
Correct.
That is actually a trio that I sing with, that Badyn has helped us out on the theater stage several times, bringing us props and mics and stools and anything else that we might need to do our show. So Badyn's very well versed with the Honky Tonk Sweethearts and our shows that we do. So Badyn, you have quite a few fans joining in. I'm going to show you some of their comments so that you can. This is Kayani Rai, and how is this person? Do you know this person?
Well, that's quite a story, and I'll make it brief. I had quite an interesting birth. I was born 3 months ahead of schedule, and Kalyani Rai, we know her as Dr. Vats. She was my neonatologist when I was just a little guy, 1 pound 9 ounces and 12 inches long. And truthfully, I have to credit her for me being here today, because I had such a low chance of survival at birth. If it wasn't for her and her interventions at the time, I probably wouldn't be sitting here speaking to you right now.
You know, Badyn, I truly believe that in instances like that, God has an incredible plan for you because of your birth and your survival and now your life. So thank you for embracing the gifts that God has given you to give those back to the world. I think you will be incredibly blessed because you have done that. So let's see. I think we know this lady.
Absolutely. She's the one who had to have the responsibility of carrying me rather, for 6 months.
Right. That would be Badyn's.
And she's kind of been my tag along through everything, going to all the services that I play for, trying her best at being a videographer, and yeah, just being kind of a cheerleader on the sideline for the things that I do.
And we have some guests from Daytona Beach.
Those are my father's parents. They live up here in Coleraine normally during the rest of the year. And right now I'm actually in the process of trying to teach my grandmother on dad's side piano, because she wants to get into it. And so once they get back from Daytona Beach, I'm going to try and get serious with her and teach her some piano so we can play some duets in the future.
Awesome. Well, you have guests from all over. Here is a South Carolinian.
Yeah. First of all, hi, Jen. Thanks for joining. She is a friend of my mother's who they were connected after our two dogs, Harley and Bristol, passed away in August of 2019 and January of 2020, respectively. And now we have a new addition. He is a miniature golden doodle. His name's Cooper. He's been in our house for just a few weeks, but he is quite the canine. And Jen's been great at giving us tips and tricks for handling a true puppy again with all that energy and everything. So she's just been a great help to us in these recent times.
Nothing like a dog in the house. And how about Nicole, Medina, Ohio?
Yeah. The best way I can put it is she is my grandfather's wife's niece. And truthfully, I'll tell you, the Lella side of the family, they're all great supporters of mine, and I couldn't thank them all enough for their support of my my path and my career into the future.
So we're not going to go through everyone, but you've got a great crowd tuning in this evening, Badyn. So I know that they want to hear more about your music. So what do you hope to accomplish moving down the road? What is your ultimate goal?
Sure. At first, I'm looking to get a bachelor's degree in music education, which will give me the framework required to eventually get to my career goal of being a professional conductor, but also a concert organist. Because eventually what I'd like to do is get a master's degree in organ performance, followed by a doctorate in conducting. So with all of those tools at my disposal, I believe that I will be able to give myself the best chance at truly prospering as a professional musician in the years to come.
So do you hope to be a symphony conductor? Is that a goal?
That is, yes.
Yes. So do you think you would prefer performing to conducting or the other way around?
I couldn't really tell you to figure that out yet because I haven't done as much conducting as I have performing to really judge it. But there's definitely a certain excitement when it comes to performing, knowing that you're entertaining people.
Yes, I can relate to that. So we had the conductor of the Wheeling Symphony on earlier this season, and he shared with us a lot of the struggles with COVID-19 and not being able to have a live audience. How has that affected you, and what have you done to pivot so that folks can still hear you perform?
Sure. So prior to COVID, and this is kind of ironic, on March 8th, 2020, I had the privilege of substituting for a gentleman named Ryan Croyle. He is the organist at First Presbyterian Church in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that Sunday was the last, you could call it the last normal Sunday that we would have for quite some time in life, because that following Friday was when all of the COVID-19 shutdowns began. So at that point, I began to think, how can I push out more performances in a virtual format? And it came to me, this idea came to me. So I sent out an email to my home church's brass ensemble, and I said, hey, we need to probably look into still being able to put out music for Easter. And we discussed some things, and it came down to us using earbuds and click tracks, and we would play our parts, and then they'd send them to me, and I would mesh them all together into a video and send that out for people to listen to. And over time, I've gotten a lot more dexterous with that. So there will definitely be a lot more to come. And one of those things that I would like to add, this Saturday, February 13th at 7:30, there will be a virtual organ recital, the first of 3 that I will be putting on, and that will be available on my YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com and just search my first and last name, it's on the screen below. It will be available there for you to view, and then after the fact, it will be available in an archive so you can go watch afterward.
And Badyn, we have queued up a video so that folks who maybe have not heard you play could get a little taste. Are you ready to share that?
Absolutely.
Well, Badyn, that was truly inspiring. I, I'm speechless. I'm speechless. And I apologize. I'm having some video issues on my side. Either that or I'm crying and don't want anyone to see. So, um, your mom mentions that you might want to share your experience in Utah. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, sure. Yeah. In the summer of 2018, I had the unique opportunity to um, perform as a impromptu guest recitalist for the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, which is an organization based in Salt Lake City, Utah, and is a subsidiary of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And how this came to light was the matter of a simple email to their principal organist, Dr. Richard Elliott, who has been there. This year will be his 30th year with the group. And I sent him a simple email and told him a little bit about myself. This was back in February. And then at that point, we started putting plans into place for me to go to Salt Lake City in July of that year and really have quite the unique experience between playing in all the different church buildings that housed organs and then being able to see the choir in concert. It was really an interesting experience after only being able to normally see them from your couch on TV.
That is really cool. How did you get into that? How did you end up in Utah to have that experience?
Well, like I said, it was just a matter of I was sort of telling myself I really need to find a certain way to get myself out there and not necessarily make a name for myself, but maybe try and foster some new connections. So I was thinking of methods of doing that. And I thought, hey, I've been watching this group for a while now. I know what they're like, and maybe on an off chance, I was thinking of the different things that could happen. And my thought process was there's no pain in trying. So I figured there was no pain in trying to send an email and see what would happen. And the result was it was truly great.
That's wonderful, Badyn. So you're doing this virtual concert on Saturday, and for anyone that's just tuning in, this is Badyn Woodford, a local high school student who is an organist extraordinaire and a musician extraordinaire. So is organ the only instrument you play, or what other instruments do you play?
So I have had the privilege at the age of 4, I had started piano lessons under Linda Steffel, and now that's transitioned to some other folks. But over these past 13 years, I've been able to gain that piano background. And after an accident in 2016, on the back end of 2016, which ended my martial arts career, I needed a way to fill that certain gap. So I started the organ that way. But then when I entered middle school, I came up to the middle school from the elementary school here in St. Clairsville, we call that moving up onto the hill. I had no idea that a band program existed for the middle school. And you have the option at St. Clairsville to join that program during the second semester of the year. During the first semester, you had the opportunity to have basically an instrument fitting. You go down, try out the different ones, and see what fits best for you. So out of that, I was able to discern that trombone would be the best pick for me. And so I have been studying that with Evan Robinson of West Liberty University for 6 years.
Okay. So as far as college goes, what are your top choices for going away to college? Where would you like to go?
Ooh, this is going to make my mother cringe because she doesn't like that I'm thinking of going that far away from home. But options that I'm looking at include the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia, the Boston Conservatory in Boston. Baylor University has a fantastic program for music education and organ performance as well. So I'm also considering that, as well as the Cleveland Institute of Music in Cleveland and West Virginia University in Morgantown are some of my top choices right now.
Okay. So if you think about artists that are popular today, who do you listen to? I think people would be interested to know what kind of music do you listen to, what local radio stations, what kind of music do you like to listen to when you're just hanging out?
Sure. It's quite an interesting kind of list, and it's partly because of that early exposure by my grandfather to the 40s through 60s music. So there's no lie. If you see me driving down the road, I will probably have an Elvis radio station on one time or another. But also there might be some Buddy Holly or the Beatles, Beach Boys, some older groups, but then also some of those newer, well, not newer, but they came later than the Beatles and the Beach Boys. Queen, there's a group called ELO, or the Electric Light Orchestra. They have some great music. And as far as modern day artists go, there is a great male band that is up and coming. Oh, I see my grandmother mentioning Brooks and Dunn. Those bring up some great memories. Some more modern artists include a up and coming male, I believe it's a male quintet titled Why Don't We? And they have some really good music. And I've been trying to dabble more into modern music because I feel like I'm kind of stuck in the past with music, and I see that the modern music is getting better. Some other artists that I listen to that are more modern, I'm actually more of a country music person, which you probably wouldn't expect. So you're looking at Jason Aldean, Blake Shelton, those sorts of people. Florida Georgia Line as well.
Okay, so I know you're still pretty young, but what's the best concert you have ever attended and why?
Ooh. Because I've only been to the one, I can only answer to the dedication recital that was at St. Mary's in St. Clairsville. And that is simply because that room was full of probably easily a dozen organists that I know from around the Ohio Valley. And we were all able to converse and kind of mingle over the music that Miss Bish was playing that evening. So it was really enjoyable to get to mingle with some of my colleagues and then meet what you would basically call a celebrity organist.
Okay. Well, I'm a little disappointed that it wasn't a Honky Tonk Sweetheart concert, but that's okay. I think I can live with that. So We all know that the pandemic has stopped a lot of the things that we enjoyed, including the Victoria Theater. Do you think that you will come back to the Victoria Theater and maybe perform someday?
I have no doubt about it. Um, there are simply too many memories that I've made at the Victoria to let COVID-19 be the thing that spells the end of my time there. I am um, I am 100% certain that when it's safe, I will definitely be back, whether it's backstage or on the stage performing.
Okay. I Do you sing?
I do. Granted, it's not anything operatic, but I have had the chance to sing a few solos in different choirs and things of that nature. So I don't usually, if you look around my social media, I don't usually publicize the singing as much. I focus more on the instrumental music, but I will definitely be diving more into the choral side soon because that is definitely something I'd like to get into more.
So, do you have any desire to learn any of the stringed instruments other than piano? We all know that the piano is a stringed instrument, but about violin, viola? Any desire to learn those instruments? Is that a no? Badyn? Oh. Are you hearing me? Oh, I think we have lost Badyn. We're going to wait for him to come back in. He should be able to just jump back in. I'm going to ask the audience if you're able to hear me out there. If you could just give me a thumbs up or stick a comment in there so that I know you're still listening. And there's Badyn coming back. Hey there. Are you there, Badyn?
I am here. Yeah.
You're here. Okay, good. I'm not sure what happened. You just popped out, and I couldn't tell if you froze up or something else happened, but I'm glad you were able to come back in. So, Badyn, is there anything else you would like to share with our audience? We're actually we're past the bottom of the hour, but that's fine. We'll go as long as you want to talk. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience?
Sure. So to those of you who are out there in public, um, there is something about music that if you find it as your outlet, take it and use it to your advantage. Um, I was on vacation with my parents in California. Um, I believe this was probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And I met a gentleman who at the time was in the United States Army Field Band. And it sounds cliche and stereotypical, but he told me that music is truly the universal language, because you may have people coming in from all over the world to perform pieces of music. And the fact of that is, no matter what language you may speak verbally, if you sit down in that chair and pick up that instrument and look at a piece of sheet music, everything's going to come out the exact same way, because music is notated the same way all across the world. So if you find something that you're into musically, take it and run with it. Um, Maybe if there's new parents here, start your kids young on an instrument of some kind. Get them into school band, because you may never know, you may be fostering their future career.
So, Badyn, are you self-taught or did you take piano and organ lessons? You did say you took piano lessons from someone. Did the organ come naturally because you could play the piano?
So from what I had read prior to everything happening and me actually beginning organ, there is a certain expectation for you to have a well-seasoned piano background prior to entering into the organ. So I had been studying piano for about 6 years, and when this time came for me to choose a filler for my martial arts, I decided, well, I have the 6 years of piano, so let's try and transfer that to something else. And with the organ, they have the same white and black keys as a piano. So there's not, physically, there's not much of a difference other than that you also have a keyboard for your feet. And it's a little bit of a curve, but nothing too drastic that would throw you for a loop if you were to start organ after being an experienced pianist for a while.
Yeah, I play the piano, but I'm self-taught, and I'm afraid that my hands and my feet would not work together to play the organ. I've watched people play the organ, and it looks very difficult to me. So I give you so much credit for doing that and learning that craft. That is really, really splendid and remarkable. Well, Badyn, I thank you so much for joining me today on Bright Spots. And folks, if you want to learn more about Badyn Woodford, please go look him up on YouTube. Just put his name in the search menu, Badyn Woodford. That's Badyn Woodford, for those that are listening to the audio. And check him out. And I think you will be quite delighted with the music that he has out there now. And then again, tune in on Saturday, the 13th, for his virtual organ recital at 7:30, and that will take place on his YouTube channel. So please be sure and check out his YouTube channel early so that you can tune in for that concert. Badyn, thank you again for being here this evening, and I hope you'll come back and join us and let us know how you're doing.
All right. Thank you very much for having me, Lori. It's been a true pleasure to be able to speak to you tonight.
All right. We'll see you. Well, folks, that ends another episode of Bright Spots every week on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. I hope you'll come back and tune in. Next week's guest is sure to be one that we remember. It is Judy Hladek of the Wellness Bridge, and I do hope that you will come back and join us next week. This is Laurie Labishak for Bright Spots signing off for this week. God bless you. Have a great week.